All right, thank you. Evening, everybody. Welcome to the first meeting of the Presque City Council for 2024. I am Kevin Freeman. I'm the provisional chair for this evening up till a point when we can do something different. So the first item on our agenda tonight, as usual, is to have, first of all, the roll call. I'll introduce from my far left. We have Gary Nelson, Craig Green, Jeff Willett, myself. We have new councillor Jim Cairn. We have Jim Carroll, excuse me, and we have Hank, who's another new councillor for us, and then King, and then Kim Finnemore, our city clerk. So we have 6 of the 7 councillors present, so we'll declare a quorum and ask for you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good to see you. Thank you, everyone, for that. Now, the next item is to administer the oath of office to our 2 newly elected city councilors. So we'll ask Kim Finnemore to do that. Sure, you can do it right up front. Yeah.
Whoever wants to go first, from here, hold up your right hand and repeat, say those words.
I do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Maine, so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof, so help me God. I do swear that I will faithfully discharge all the duties incumbent upon me as city councilor for the city of Presque, according to the Constitution and laws of the state of Maine, so help me God. James Carroll.
I do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Maine, so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof, so help me God. I do swear that I will faithfully discharge all the duties incumbent upon me as a city councilor for the city of Presque, according to the Constitution and laws of the state of Maine, so help me God. Thank you.
You just need you to hit the sign. Put the sign on that one there. Thank you. And thank you.
Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Welcome to you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Well, for some organizations, there would be a party directly following, but no, we have to do some work now, so we'll do that part later. The next item of business is our council appointments this evening, and the first item under that bullet point is to elect a council chair. So we'll entertain nominations on all of these one at a time, and each nomination will need to be seconded. If a person wants to discuss it up or down, they can, and then we'll have a vote. And if there's more than one person wants to go to these, we'll go to a ballot format until someone's elected for these positions. So the first item is council chair. Is there anybody who would like to make a nomination?
I'd nominate Kevin Freeman.
Second. Is there any other nominations from the floor? Seeing none, we'll close the nominations and ask for a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Abstain. Thank you very much. So that's 5-0-1, Kim. Deputy Council Chair. So the next item, in the event that the council chairman's no longer available, the deputy chair would run the meeting and any other duties assigned by the council chairman. Is there any nominations for deputy council chair?
Yes, I'd nominate Jeffrey Willett.
Is there a second?
Second.
And thirded. Is there any other nominations? You say yes?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Is there any other nominations? Hank, you wanna give a shot?
No, I'm good.
You're
I'm
good?
with Jeff.
Right? Yeah. Any other nominations? So we'll close the nominations and ask for a vote. All those in favor of Deputy Chair Jeffrey Willett? Raise your hands. All those opposed? 501. Thank you. We have a council appointment to Aroostook Waste Solutions. It's one person on the committee that sits alongside our city manager and currently also Dana Fowler. This group meets once per month for a couple of hours. Is there anybody who would like to make a nomination for Aroostook Waste Solutions? Well, let's see here.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the normal folks are in the back, the current folks are in the back page of section 2. Listed out, highlighted.
What did you say?
Section 2.
Section 2, page
Does
2.
the current nominee or
Yep.
board member wish to continue?
Yep, so I'm currently on Aroostook Waste Solutions. It's a very dynamic committee. It's been a real eye-opener, a good experience. I've been on it for a couple of years now. I will step aside if someone else would rather be on that, on AWS, but I can also still do it, so. Does anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, I don't mind doing it. I enjoy wastewater and water treatment, so.
So it's a Friday meeting at 8 o'clock once a month.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
I can absolutely do that,
Great. So I'd nominate Jim Carroll for Aroostook Waste Solutions.
I'll second.
Is there any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's 6-0-1-0. Thank you. Next item is our audit committee. This is basically once a year, I believe, meeting. So we're looking for 2 counselors to be on the audit committee. Currently, it's myself and an open seat. So,
I have interest in that.
Hank, you'd already indicated an interest is, and so I'd like to nominate Hank King for the audit committee.
I'll second that.
Is there anybody else that would like to be nominated for the audit committee? It's a once a year, and I don't mind. I think I can make one meeting. So
It does take two members.
yeah. So
I'll nominate Kevin Freeman.
okay.
Second.
All right. So Hank and Kevin are nominated for the audit committee. Is there any other nominations? So we'll close the nominations and ask for a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? 6-0-0. All right, thank you. Moving right along to the Finance Committee. I'm really not certain how this is going to be affected in the future, because down in the later part of the agenda this evening, we're going to talk about Finance Committee basically opening it up to all council people. But right now, Finance Committee are the ones that signs the warrants. And later on the agenda, we're opening that up to all membership, so. Currently, I guess we can do it as we have in the past, and currently the Finance Committee is Craig and myself, so, but I think that if we successfully move this later in the meeting, everybody is gonna be on the Finance Committee, so that's the way I read it. Do you read that any differently, Brad?
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you haven't seen the bottom of the agenda then yet. Yeah.
Has the charter been amended to reflect that change? No?
No, I'm not sure where that really comes from. Not sure. So currently, let's get the 2 counselors elected to the Finance Committee. Is there?
I don't mind serving in. Basically, we look over the budget warrant and sign it so they can send out checks weekly. And we have to come down the city hall to do that. If anyone else wants to do it, that's great too.
You gotta be able to orbit into the building somewhere between Wednesdays and Thursdays. I've found that seems to be
Right.
the highlight, so, you can do
But
that.
anyone,
I'm in the building quite often, so I don't mind staying on that, but again, if there's anybody else that wants to jump in, they're more than welcome to do that, so.
I'm same way. If anyone wants to do it, go ahead.
Craig, I'll make a nomination for Craig Green for the Finance Committee. Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Jeff. Is there any other nominations? We need another one.
I make a nomination for Kevin Freeman to the Finance Committee.
Okay. Second. Is there any other nominations? We'll close the nominations then and ask for a vote for Craig Green and Kevin Freeman for the Finance Committee. All those in favor? All those opposed? 6-0-0. Thank you. Presque Development Fund Board of Trustees. This one meets a little more than monthly sometimes, depending on the workload. This is currently Jeff and myself. You have any comments about BID?
No, I mean, the meetings are pretty few and far between recently, but it's a pretty neat board to be part of.
We're just two of several. I think there's 9 on that board that
Yep.
meet. So we're just 2 representatives out of that. So very interesting. It's a underutilized but up and coming part of the business development effort here in Presque Isle. So there's a revolving fund there of a little over $1 million, I think, currently. So it's available. So. Is there any, the Florida nominations for the Presque Isle Development Fund?
Maybe I could help you out with that. I see your name on just about everything here, Kevin. So when you free up on that one, I definitely
Thank
can.
you.
Yeah.
So I'd nominate Jim for Presque Isle Development Fund Board of Trustees.
Second?
Is there another nomination? I think Jeff's done a great job next to me, if you're willing to continue.
Yeah.
I'll nominate Jeff for the development fund. Is there any other nominations? We'll close the nominations then and ask council for.
Seconds, Jeff.
Whom?
Okay.
So we'll ask for a vote. All those in favor of Jeff and Jim for the Presque Isle Development Fund. All those opposed, 6-0-0. I see a trend here. I'm getting off and you're getting on more, so
Yeah,
that's
well,
good.
I-
That's
yeah,
good. You
well, yeah.
jump right in
You seem
there.
to be the usual suspect here.
Keep going. Next is our Presque Isle Downtown Revitalization Committee. So there are again 2 councilors, and currently those are 2 open seats. So our 2 councilors that were here last year that are no longer around are both part of Downtown Revitalization. And I think that's a natural one, not to be picking on you, but you're a
Yeah, that's
downtown
fine.
person, so I
Yeah.
think you'd be
Yeah,
awesome
I
there.
had my eye on that one, so yeah.
So I nominate Jim for that position.
Would you?
So I'll
I'll
nominate,
nominate Hank.
and I'll second Hank's nomination. Is there anybody else who would like to be on Downtown Revitalized?
Second Jim's nomination?
You did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you. Is there any other nominations on Presque Isle Downtown Revitalization? Seeing none, we'll close that nomination period and ask for a vote. All those in favor of Jim and Hank on the Downtown Revitalization Committee. All those opposed, 6-0-0. Thank you. Something that sounds the same but not exactly. This is the Downtown TIF Advisory Committee. So currently, Craig and Jake, so that would be an open seat. Craig, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the TIF is the tax increment financing district that we set up. It encompasses several directions in town that all four corners of the compass. They're all over town. We have some by the airport, by the mall, downtown, here. And so that area is specifically suited to special financing and special arrangements to be made with the taxation of the property in regards to how city and school taxes are paid, and can help us to direct funds either to help with the project being built or to help with other projects that the TIF district was originally set up to help enhance. So that could be downtown sidewalks, recreation, a number of things that are in that that TIF district. So this committee, basically, we would advise and meet in regards to different businesses that may come forward that are looking to do new work in town, either to increase the building or business they already have, or could be new. So I guess there is a little bit of institutional knowledge with it, but it also won't move on to the new people if we don't have new people. So I don't mind doing it again, but I hope that we have, of course, Jake is no longer here, but like I say, I hope.
I'd be interested in giving it a shot.
Okay.
I'd nominate Craig Green for the TIF Advisory Committee.
Second?
And I'll advise, and I'll nominate Hank King.
Again,
Hank?
second.
Seconded by Jeff. Is there any other nominations for the TIF Advisory Committee? Seeing none, we'll close the nominations and ask for a vote. All those in favor of Craig Green and Hank King for the Downtown TIF Advisory Committee, raise your hands. All those opposed? Yes, no?
No.
6-0-0. Okay, thank you. And our final council appointment this evening is the Presque Industrial Council Board of Directors. This is a three-year term, or the time that your council term expires, whichever is shorter. It's currently served by myself and Mike Chessie. Mike's no longer around, so we are looking for 1 or 2 seats for the Industrial Council. So is there anybody that would like to make a nomination for the Industrial Council?
So I'd like to nominate Gary.
Gary Nelson. All right, so
Second?
been moved by Craig and seconded by Jeff. There is anybody else would like to make a nomination? Nomination, we have up to 2 seats. I'll nominate Craig Green for the Industrial Council, if that's a yes.
Yep.
Second. All right. All right, so we have, is there anybody else would like to throw their hat in the ring?
Do we nominate people who aren't here? I
You
always
go.
like to blame the guy that's not here.
Doug? Be helpful, it'd be helpful if
Yeah.
he could accept it or not.
I can help you out with that
You, what's that?
one. I can help you out with that one.
All right.
Second. Or nominate James Carroll.
Nomination for James Carroll by Hank, and I'll second that also, so I don't think there's any reason why I can't second more than one. So we have, is there any other nominations? 2 more people, we could put all 6 of us on there and have at it. All right, very dynamic. I've done it for many, many years and stuff. Great opportunity to participate in a huge development effort along on the industrial park. Great group of people. There's nine people, some of which are in the room here this evening, led by a great executive director and a staff of 4 people that do a tremendous amount of work. So
So how many counselors do we appoint to that?
we're
Just-
appointing 2. So right now we have Gary, Jim, and Craig nominated right now. So is there any other nominations? No. So we'll close the nominations and we'll ask for a ballot. So you'll be voting on two people. in the event of a tie, the leader will get out and the other two left will run off. So your vote, you're putting two names down for a 3-year term on the Presque Industrial Council.
So, Mr. Chair, I have to speak up. The Industrial Council has a rule in place, we'll double check with Tom, but people who have businesses or live on the Industrial Council are excluded from serving on that board.
So is that an opinion or an actual rule?
It's actually in the minutes, Kevin, and what it is principal owners and or CEOs of businesses or corporations that on the park are not included. Cannot be part of our members.
I still don't have an answer to my question whether it's in a bylaws or charter.
Tom is, I think, trying to track that down right now. It's in the minutes, it's been voted on by the board. Is it in the charter, I think is the question, and I don't know that. I think it's in their bylaws.
So for clarification, folks, Mr. Freeman, your seat is yours until such time as you are no longer on the council. So yours is up at this moment. There's only one seat currently available on the board.
So I have that in a minutes from the last meeting that says my expiration term is 12/31/23. My 3-year term is up. Yep, that would be the 3rd year, and although my council term is not expired, the 3-year term is up. Yep.
And the verbiage about principals or owners of property on the park is part of the verbiage within our bylaws. So I'm not sure what Mr. Nelson's status is with this company.
So again, we've got, I think, 7 board directors, 2 of which are appointed by city council. A couple are from the chamber. So there's diversity on that board. And we're asked to assign people to the city council that are part of our membership. So elected people have elected us. And we in turn can put, I believe, any of us on that board. If they're elected by the population and stuff, you have plenty of diversity with chamber people, you have at-large directors, and if we've got someone that is voluntarily wants to be on that board, especially in view of Gary's situation where he's got a tremendous investment on the park. I think he'd be a good steward for that organization moving forward in terms of improvements up there, in terms of possibly expanding land opportunities, making the park larger. Then looking at myself, I have no investment up there. And although I have a vested interest in seeing the park grow and develop economically, he's got way more of an interest in it than I do because he's there every day. And unless I see something that says that he is disqualified in terms of a charter or a bylaw thing, I think he's got every opportunity to be on that board as much as anybody else. That's my opinion. So right now you're telling me 25 minutes into a meeting that you've had all the opportunity to talk about for days and weeks, and now you're telling me something that is actually opinion. It's part of a minutes. And that's for a meeting that's not part of our deal. This is a city council meeting. This is an industrial council meeting. So I'd like to move ahead with the vote unless you want to withdraw.
No, oh, no, absolutely not.
So let's do the ballot. So point taken, Mr. Executive Director. Appreciate the point.
So we're only voting for one
Two.
candidate, 2 for 2.
2, yeah.
Yep.
So the people that are nominated is Gary, Jim? And-
Gary, Jim, and Craig.
And Craig, all right. And again, in the event of a tie, if such thing happens, the clear winner will stop, and then we'll have a runoff on the person that's the second one. Take your time, Kim. Kim. Douglas is missing all the fun.
I just said, did I get done? He'll walk in 8 seconds after we're done voting.
I'm tallied.
No, okay, what do you got?
Gary 5, Craig 6, and Jim 1.
So, there's no ties, so Gary and Craig are elected to the industrial council for the next 3 years. So, or is when your terms end. So congratulations. All right, the next thing that we have to talk about is the city charter. So this is appointments made by the city council annually for 1-year terms. And the next item is to appoint our city attorney.
The recommended list is on page 3 of section 3.
There we go. So our city appointments would be our Richard Courier as city attorney, Kimberly Finnemore as city clerk. Heuristic Waste Solutions would be appointing Dana Fowler and a city manager, currently our interim manager, Lewis Cousins. Code Enforcement Officer, Tim St. Peter. The Airport Advisory Board of Nate Grass and Charlie Namer. Am I on the right thing here? I guess we can stop there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's our.
Yeah. All right, so just to back up, then we'll vote on the city attorney, the city clerk, and the code enforcement officer as read.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to appoint Richard Courier, Kim Finnemore, and Dana Fowler.
Tim St. Peter.
And Tim St. Peter as read. Sorry about that.
Great. Been moved by Jeff. Second
Second.
by Gary. Any discussion? Those individuals, by the way, have done fantastic work for us as a city, and I'm very happy to see them continue on for 2024. Is there any other discussion or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? 6-0-0. Now the next segment was boards and committees appointed by the Presque City Council. I'm going to read down through. Most of these nominations have been forwarded to us. Some are recurring people, some are new people that have been expressed interest, and we're very happy to have new people join all of these groups. There are a few openings, so I'm going to point those out as we go along. And if there's anybody from council or anybody that would like to nominate somebody to fill these positions, this is a great time to do it. So the first board is the Airport Advisory Board. There are 3 seats open. They're reappointing Nate Grass and Charles Namer III, and the county is asking Lee Smith to join the Airport Advisory Board to represent Aroostook County. So those are the 3 there. Assessment Review, to reappoint Frank Bemis and Mike McPherson. There are 2 alternates that are vacant at this point as well. Audit committee is open. There's a vacancy there. Presque Isle Development Fund Board of Trustees, that reappoint Sarah Gardner and Margot Dyer. These are, again, great people that have been on boards already and they want to continue on. Downtown Revitalization Committee, reappoint Rod Cameron and Sean Cunningham, and to add Tiffany Plord with Tiffany's term to expire December of 2027. Presque Isle Downtown TIF Advisory Committee, reappoint Sean Nordenhold and Floyd Rockholt to expire this year. Library Board of Trustees, reappoint Amy Holland for a 2-year term and reappoint Julia Bartley to expire this December 2024. There is one full member opening and one alternate open. Jim, you mentioned, I'm gonna stop right here, you mentioned that you might have an interest in being on the Library Board of Trustees.
I wouldn't mind doing that one. Yep.
So
I'd love to do that.
we can add you to, as a full member. I'm not sure what the expiration date is for that, but I'm assuming it's 2 years.
That's fine.
Planning Board to reappoint David Perry and Ward Giroux to expire in 2 years, 12/31/27, and to reappoint Richard Engels and Timothy Vernon to expire this year, 12/31/24. Getting towards the end of it, Rec and Parks Board, another very active group here in Presque Isle, to reappoint Linda Menard to expire on 12/31/27, a 2-year term. And there is a full opening available that's open and 3 alternate positions that are open. I've scratched your name on that too. Do you have any interest in the rec board?
I might be a little tapped out right now. Let me mull that one over.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to be on the rec and parks board? I may give that a try. Put my name down as a full membership.
Okay.
Dive into that. That leaves 3 alternates vacant. So if anybody would like to get your name in to serve on the Recs and Parks Board and serve as an alternate, come see Kim at the city clerk's office.
And you can apply online as well.
Or apply online at
Just
www. Okay, great. Zoning Board of Appeals, to reappoint Karen Duncan and Carl Allen to expire in 2 years, 12/31/26. And there's a full member on the Zoning Board of Appeals, so that we regularly have alternates and full members vacant on Zoning Board, another very important board here in Presque Isle, especially with the downtown remodel coming up and a lot of housing opportunities coming up in town. So Zoning Board's an active one. If you want to get involved in any of those projects, that's a good one to jump in on. Come on in, Doug. Sorry. Glad you could.
Congratulations.
Glad
You
you
got
could
appointed
make
to every board.
Yeah.
And what's the process to resign?
Go see Kim.
Does that complete all of our appointments? Believe that it does. Oh, and this also in this group, many of you have read recently, and it's all true. The rumors are true. We're building a new airport terminal. So we have an ad hoc committee comprised of our airport director, Scott Wardwell, our operations director, Marty Kelly, our United Airlines station manager, Kelly Hugh, and airport advisory board member, Larry Clark. That's the core committee right now, and we are asked to provide a city council member to that group. In addition to that, there is a car rental representative, Shelley Prue. TSA rep has not been named yet. Corporate real estate for United will be on there. Central Houstic Chamber is asked to send a member. It looks like Lenise Sirwa will fill that role. And the Presque Isle Air Museum representative, I guess, who would Craig, you're on that group. Who would be your rep on that one?
So I'm not sure if that one is Nate Grass, because I believe he is on the ad hoc committee now, and I'm thinking that it's Nate.
Okay. So, all right. So we're tasked with filling a position from the city council. Is there anybody that would like to nominate anyone on the ad hoc airport terminal committee? I have an interest in that. I think that's a cool project. It's gonna, once the airport terminal is done, I'm pretty sure that committee is done, so. I think I could do that.
Okay.
Is there anybody else besides myself that would like to be on that committee? Any other nominations? None?
I nominate Kevin Freeman for that position.
Okay,
Second?
thank you. Close the nominations and ask for a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, that's for the ad hoc terminal. Now, let's just move all of the other appointments as written for the boards and committees as written, with the addition of Jim Karen on the Library Board of Trustees.
Yeah.
Jim Carroll.
And
Why? I'm gonna get that someday. Yeah.
and the other thing too is just to verify with that, the Rustic Waste Solutions, Dana Fowler from above, because we didn't
Yep.
add that in with that, so I would move that we vote on the appointments as presented, including Rustic Waste Solutions, Dana Fowler, the addition of Jim Carroll on library, Kevin on rec and parks, and then under the ad hoc airport terminal, with Kevin as the city council member, and I'm 99.999% sure Nate Grass is the Air Museum representative, because he's been
Yep.
going to the meetings.
Great.
So,
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
You gotta get a second.
Yeah,
second.
it was seconded by Jeff. I might put Kim in the middle so she can hear all this stuff. All right, any opposition? So 7-0-0. All right, thank you. All right. The final thing for this segment of the meeting is to set a very easy thing, and that's this council meeting and times and location. Excuse me, for 2024. Traditionally, this is item 4 in your binder. Traditionally, we have held meetings on the first Wednesday of each month. That seems to be something that most councilors can make. If you can't make a meeting on Wednesdays, now's the time to talk about it. So we have traditionally held the regular meeting at 6 o'clock. Executive sessions can be held before or after, and recently they've been held mostly before at 5 or 5:15, depending on the caseload. So, is there anybody that objects to the 6 o'clock first Wednesday of the month? No? Everybody can make them? All right. Anybody like to make a motion?
I
This
move
is-
to accept council meetings as stated.
That's
So
the easy way
Kevin,
to
will
do
that
it.
include the executive session at 5:15?
Yeah, that, we don't have to set those right now, but
Okay.
we have to tell the public when we're regularly meeting. So 6 o'clock Wednesdays at the city council chambers here on 2nd Street.
Perfect.
And we're also, too, should invite people to join us online,
Yep.
as we're doing right now as well. So it's been moved by Hank and seconded by Gary. Is there any other comments or discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? All right. That'll conclude, what I'd like to do now is suspend the rules to allow a special meeting of the Presque, annual meeting of the Presque Industrial Council to take place. So we will recess the meeting at this point and allow this part of the meeting to take place for the Industrial Council, which is held by charter, the first meeting of the city council each year. So we will ask Mr. Tom Powers to join us at the podium. So I'd like to call to order the annual meeting of the Presque Industrial Council membership at 6:07 p.m.
Good evening, council. How are you?
Good.
Good. As you can see that we have to have our annual meeting, and it's placed now, and we can't hold it until there's an election of officers to sit on our board. So now that there has been election of officers, we can move forward. So first of all, there was a notice of our annual meeting sent out in advance as per our bylaws. Then we have an agenda that we're supposed to follow for this meeting.
Would you like me to kick that off for you,
Please,
Tom?
if you would, Kevin.
Yes, sir. So as the chairman, I'd like to move to accept the Presque Industrial Council membership's annual meeting minutes of last year, January 4th, 2023. And that will need a second.
Second.
Is there any further discussion to accept the meeting minutes? This is a part of a separate mailing, guys.
It was on the table.
It was on the email.
I put packets in front of you that'll look like that.
Gary's missing his.
There's an extra set here. I thought I was agreeing to something.
So what we're looking for at this time is actually the approval of last year, in last January 4th,
Yep.
membership meeting for 2023.
I can vouch for the fact there was a meeting and it was indeed held.
Yeah.
So I've moved the minutes acceptance. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Craig. Are there any comments, additions, or deletions? The Presque Industrial Council meeting, you'll get it. All those in favor of accepting the meeting minutes from last year, raise your hands. All those opposed, 700. Thank you. Election of directors. We've already done this part, so the nominees from the city council are Gary Nelson and Craig Green. So, I move to accept the nomination of Gary and Craig as representatives from the Presque City Council and the Presque Industrial Council Board of Directors for a 3-year term or the remainder of the second term, whichever is less, which is something we've already done. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
So,
Seconded by Hank.
you're not gonna go on it?
No, he missed that part.
Yes.
That was good. All those in favor? All those opposed? 700. There is a nominee submitted by the Central Aroostook Chamber of Commerce. They have nominated Derek Smith. Anybody like to read that motion? Anybody can do these, because you guys are all members of this body. We're on B.
So, just read what it says there, the nominee of the,
Yep, read section B.
okay. Nominee shall be from the active membership of the Central Aroostook Chamber of Commerce upon nomination by the directors of the Central Aroostook Chamber of Commerce, and shall hold office for 3 years unless their membership in the Central Aroostook Chamber of Commerce sooner terminates. This nomination is Derek Smith, and he has accepted the nomination.
Great, thank you. It's been moved by Craig. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Hank. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? 700. Where are we at now, Tom?
BC, election of the.
Thank you. The election of an at-large, this is nominated by the current PIIC board, and I believe that the directors have nominated Mr. Frank Bemis for a 3-year term as director at large on the Presque Industrial Council.
So the director at large shall be elected from the membership upon the nomination of one of the 4 directors to represent city council or chamber of commerce shall hold the office for 3 years. The nominee shall not be a member of either the city council or the board of directors of the chamber of commerce. The nomination of the director at large is Frank Bemis. He's very tall, so the large part fits. And the win, yes.
I can second that one. So Craig's motion, and I'll second that. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote on the director at large Representative Frank Bemis for a 3-year term. All those in favor? Opposed? Congratulations. I think now, where are we at now? You want to give your annual report, Tom? I think you can, and then we can vote that.
Yes, this is the point where we move into the annual report. Thank you. So you have in front of you a written 2-page annual report for what went on in 2023 up at the Skyway Industrial Park. I'll paraphrase some of this and read directly from some of the rest of it. This is our time to say thank you from the Presque Industrial Council Board of Directors to the City Manager and the City Council for their support regarding the projects and negotiations that were held at the Presque Industrial Council as part of our 2023 year. The Presque Industrial Council is a corporation governed by a board of 7 directors that meet monthly with an executive and associate director that act on behalf of the city's interests at the industrial park. The Industrial Council employs 4 year-round staff, 1 part-time employee in the summer. Those employees oversee the maintenance improvement of the buildings and grounds. The city's assets within that area amount to over $50 million worth of assets. When we say assets, pretty much buildings located on over 400 acres of park maintained area. The 2023 estimates for the industrial park haven't changed a great deal since last year. They're somewhere between 800 and 900 jobs. That doesn't include any students or residents that travel up to the park or reside within the park. The park contains over 60 businesses, industries, and organizations. They're a very diverse group. The Skyway Industrial Park's central location in Aroostook County makes it a great place for growth. Its modern infrastructure, diverse list of tenants, and Presque Isle's own ideology of what it would like to see happen makes it a very interesting place for businesses to look at and very appealing to businesses to look at. As far as the accounting goes, the nuts and bolts are this. The 2023 revenue breakdown is we did break the $1 million threshold this past year with $1,025,261.79 invoiced. The seasonal storage accounts for almost 10% of that at $114,646 in income, and that is from 112 different tenants at over 200 different pieces. So you can see it's quite a puzzle that's put together over in that one building. The accounts receivable only total out to $3,868, which is less than 0.5%. And actually, those 2 people they're just firms that pay a month late every year and have for years and years. So there's no doubt that the check is already in the mail. It's just it wasn't in when this was closed out. So that's a pretty impressive piece. The operating expenses, $420,000. Our debt service is $528,000. And that debt service is also include our what we owe on our buildings and the repayment of those funds. The additional rent income from our rail system is over $50,000, and it goes directly into a reserve account, which we use for our annual insurance maintenance costs and any minor things that need to happen to that. In 2023, the park's operation was 100% self-sufficient. We're pretty proud of that fact. The money's earned in excess of all operational costs, maintenance upgrades, and also including the building construction's debt. So we pay everything. There isn't anything swept underneath the rug up there. And we're still able to come ahead. So that works out very well for the taxpayers and everybody involved. A large portion of our funds go towards building upgrades, modernization of the city's existing assets. In 2023, the projects listed below had the same challenges as everybody else around this room. Shortages of labor, rising costs, everything that goes into it. But we were able to perform these, and we didn't go into listing the minor items, just what we thought was the major items. So the following projects were worked on in 2023: the milling and placement of pavement on the road surface and installation of a new sidewalk system on Central Drive. That was done in cooperation with the Public Works Department, and has made quite a difference on the entryway into the park. You no longer have to dodge everything all the way up through it. It's a nice addition. I want to thank Public Works publicly for their efforts with that. We installed a new rubber roof system over one of the buildings owned by the city, Building 609, which is now currently leased to Rotec for a long-term lease. They're a medical supply company. We designed and built a new 20-car parking area on Peace Park. Peace Park never had any parking ever associated with it. And that was done in conjunction with the Maine National Guard this past summer, so a lot of that cost was taken over by them as far as labor and equipment. We had to provide materials. So it really was a very good win for the city to have that put in place this past year. We worked with FW Web Company on the development of their exterior. As you know, we sold that section, the city sold that section to FW Web for the building of that almost $6 million facility. Maybe it's broke $6 million, I'm not sure. But it's a 45,000 square foot building, and if you have an opportunity to drive by, you'll see that the grounds are going to come out very nice, and they've done a very good job of delivering a nice appearance to their building's exterior. That was one of the things we've worked on. We also worked on the interior and exterior renovations to what we call Building 603. It's a former fiber materials building. A difficult building to work on in a way, but we have somebody who's interested in a long-term lease right now, so those efforts have not been wasted at all. Negotiated the land sale of 4 acres to a major agricultural product supply company with expectations that they'll break ground this spring at that location. We started and completed new section of rail spur, about 1,700 feet of it. The earmark on that, that's our third one we've done in 5 years, and at zero cost to the city of Presque for well past a $500,000 project. The funding was done by outside sources and grants. So the city owns the system, and it's all up and operational right now. We completed the construction of a new 11,400 square foot spec building, which we thought was going to be a shell for a while. And while we were finishing up, we were approached, and looks like the shell now has a person of interest who wants to lease it. So we are now in the midst of completing and finishing the interior and exterior of that building. We hope to have it online by March, and that's to be leased off to a national food chain. So that's pretty hard to beat that kind of success, I guess. So to wrap up what our 2023 looked like, we are in the enviable position of having 100% of our buildings leased and the largest percentage of land leased in its operational history. Our next challenge for 2024 is really to find that next project that will best benefit Aroostook County and come up with, if there's funding required, how we would fund that. The ideology and the actions of the people who make up the Presque Industrial Council, the municipal government, public service boards, and city council deserve recognition for their efforts, support, and guidance. I would like to formally say thank you to the member of all those groups, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Respectfully submitted, Tom Powers.
Tom, I'll start. Fantastic job. Again, great summary. It's hard to condense 12 months of work into 5 to 8 minutes, and I appreciate you doing that. And I know you're like me and like to have a calculator in front of you, but if you had to guess between Sputnik, Coke, the new spec buildings, how many square feet in the last 3 years have we juggled around, added, and installed people in, roughly?
Probably somewhere between 80 and 90,000 square feet. We probably have increased the city's assessed value of the buildings that we worked on somewhere around between $12 and $14 million, and it's probably cost us right about $3.5 million to do so. So that's a pretty good return on investment.
Yep. Yeah, and what do you? I know it's difficult to look at the crystal ball, but what do you think the short-term outlook looks like? How's
from the feedback that I'm getting from the contractors we're working with, and the feedback coming from the area residents and local businesses, I see 24 moving right just like 23 did. I don't see it letting up at all. Contractor availability, they're booked out. And I think that if there is any hint of anything going back or backing off, I haven't seen it yet. I can't tell you what 25 will be, but I'm looking at 24 being a pretty good year.
Would you like to comment on the Humane Society shelter currently, where that's at right now, and what our role, Industrial Council's role there?
So the negotiations that we had with the Humane Society were the Humane Society sets upon city-owned property. They built the building themselves to house the animals that they house. That structure, of course, is pretty subpar by today's standards, so they have raised funds to build a new one. They're at the opposite end of the same street that they are on currently, and the city has agreed to allow them to rebuild or build a new facility at that location, but retain ownership of the land as they do in the other location. And also with the agreement that they would turn over their old building to us at that location, and we'll have to assess it at that point of whether that's a build spot or if we can rebuild what's existing.
So I think it's worth noting, I think my point to going down this road is that, you know, pro-business, pro-development, pro-jobs, but we're also sensitive to a need that's been a long time in Aroostook County with the animal shelter or the Humane Society that's there. And we're trying to be a partner with them in
Absolutely.
improving their facilities.
So, of course, the agreement is one of your typical $1 a year
Right.
agreements for the use of the property. So, you know, the city of
Right.
Presque sees the need for Humane Society, and that's the support that we're going along to it, is the location. They have broke ground at that site and are starting footings forming tomorrow, and they've got it sheltered today, and I think they may try to pour something before the end of the week for as far as footings go for the perimeter foundation. And I believe the walls and truss systems are ready to be set upon, if I'm not mistaken.
Anybody else would like to jump in, Doug?
The humane thing, I think that's great, mainly because aren't we like the only one in Aroostook County, or?
They make the comment we are the serving radius for almost Madawaska to the Holton area.
Yeah, I think so.
And what, did they have a step back with the sprinklers, or was that some other project?
No, it was that project. It was discovered and actually has been a law for a while that anytime there's habitation by any living thing overnight, it needed the requirement.
Not living humans, any living thing.
Yeah. The same consideration had to go for dogs, cats, pets,
Yeah.
as had to go for humans.
We pay, or not pay, give the end of each year, or each budget towards the Humane Society, and I gather that there's some type of long-standing law that kind of requires that. Is that, I guess, capita based, and is that gonna change because this facility is larger? It
That,
is a larger facility,
I
right?
could not
Yeah.
address to that. Actually, is a council piece of that.
Yeah, that is also something that we can ask the Humane Society people about.
Actually, I think I can answer that. We delved into that probably a decade ago, and it's a per capita based on the population of the community,
In the amount per capita set by,
the state.
oh, okay.
So it's fixed regardless of the building size, I guess, Doug.
Okay.
Good feedback, good comments. Anything else for Tom in his annual report before?
I got a bunch here.
Yeah, go for it. Might wanna pull your mic down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
first, who did you stiff arm to prepay their rent so you could get over $1 million?
That would be the associate director, and never underestimate her in any way, shape, or form. She is on top of it.
I
Like,
think they call her the
unbelievable.
Ruthinator.
She is very conscious and does an extremely good job of watching out and making sure things don't get very far behind. But a lot of the reason we're in the position we're in is the people that do seasonal storage pay for it in advance as well. So if you're bringing your camper in and it's $400 to store it for that season, the season isn't up until the end of April. So a lot of that is what we would call prepaid.
Okay. On the web thing, is there anything else, I guess not thought of that they've requested from the city to, like, finishing touch type of stuff that they need, or have they made any comments on that intersection?
They haven't
You know,
made
stuff
any
that-
comments like that yet.
No?
No, and so a few things have come up. The angle of the slope of the existing sidewalk where it crosses the two entryway drives on Central Drive will have to be brought out further to meet ADA compliance. They're aware of it. And there's a few items like that. There was a few pieces of vegetation that had to be removed because it encumbered the way the water was going to flow on the site. They've offered to replace it like in kind with new pieces and more of them, just not the old ones that were there.
Okay.
So
So they're
I'm pretty
not-
pleased with how they are looking to view their facility.
Well, I have to guess, I mean, I look at a map of where they have locations, and I have to guess, and Galen could have probably verified that we are much easier to deal with than some of their locations that they're trying to build in or operate in Massachusetts or other states.
I've gotten that directly from the contractor and from FW Web Operations House.
So it's good, yeah.
Yeah.
Any concern, your leases that you have up there, are they usually a year? I can't be that short. Where I'm going with that, do you have any concerns with inflation not, or being higher than your?
A number of the leases have escalation clauses into them that will account for some sort of increase if it's a long-term lease. We do offer some fixed lease on some of the larger companies that we deal with, just to entice them to want to maintain their position there for X amount of time, whether it be 5 years or 10 years. We normally put the option for renewals at that time. It's when we renegotiate the prices. We've tried to become more in line to what is downtown and area pricing, so you're not having an unfair advantage in any way. I don't really have any concerns. A lot of the leases are what we would call, there are short-term leases that are only a year or so, and they're normally the smaller local people that you're trying to help out or make sure that they do stay in business. But the larger folks that we deal with are 5 and 10 years, so they're fairly solid.
But you don't see that negatively affecting you if you're on year 2 of a 10-year and we've had this crazy COVID inflation, and you don't see that negatively affecting you in 5 years or something?
I do not, simply because the people that we're dealing with are so large nationwide or worldwide that those kind of things, while they impact their bottom line, they have a huge bottom line that Presque, Maine doesn't sit there and upset their billions.
Right, but if you got a 10-year lease, you can't just change a lease 4 years into it. I'm saying
No,
your
right.
Revenue end.
Right, and so what it is, when we're coming up with those lease amounts, we're trying to envision where would we like to be 3 or 4 years down the road, and is that the number that we gave them to kind of split the difference, hedge your bets, whatever word you'd like to use. You're not trying to stick it all to them at the beginning, but then again, you don't want to be doing it for nothing at the end of 10 years.
I got 2 other things. One, give you an idea how Tom operates and how he's making this thing work well. So I had picked his brain one time because I had to deal with a handicap ramp and putting a new one in place. And you know, you got all these codes you got to go by and this and that, and you know, handrail and he just says to me, he said, you know what I did? I just went and bought a pre-made one that's already ADA approved, so I don't have to waste the time, I don't have to waste the engineer's time, all this, and get on to the next thing. And that's kind of, I guess, how he is, I see him operating, that sometimes it may be a little bit more upfront, but in the short, long term, if that makes any sense, it's definitely proven to be the way to go. So he's not only taking liability off of the park, but also not messed around for 6 months trying to get designs and quotes and this and that, when maybe he might have paid an extra $1,000 up front, but it's already paid for itself.
Correct.
So that's, I don't know what term to use to amend you for that, but
School of Hard Knocks will do quite well.
yeah. And then the last thing, the council knows, but I'm trying to look into having some better street lighting around town. And in talking with Tom, I may have already attempted to task him with a lighting assessment for the park, which I kind of realized going up to the old Skyway in middle school for soccer games or whatever, and you know, it's pretty dark around that school, aside from the main drive, let alone the whole sidewalk that's going down towards NM or any of the other streets. I mean, Tom would have a better handle on where there's more pedestrian traffic, but with the park doing as well as it is and enticing people, I would assume that would also mean a percentage of the people potentially walking, and not only just a better selling point to someone who may want to come in and say, look, you got these crazy crime areas throughout all these states, and, you know, our streets are well lit, and, you know, for the the poles are already there, for the minimal cost, monthly cost of adding a light. So, I guess that would be something I would like to task you with.
So Doug is referencing a phone call yesterday where I left it. I won't use a few of the words I used against him, but I'm also not the only person that has been looking at that. Galen had looked at some of it. I know Mr. Freeman has looked at some. I almost think Mr. Cousins may have some very good insight to what currently is out there.
So I do have some information, and it came from Dana Fowler. First of all, the Deputy Police Chief, Mr. Hayes, has done his own lighting assessment of the city streets. Secondly, Mr. Fowler has in place quotes from Versant to do an entire lighting scheme on Central. And he also has one from a local contractor, LaJoy. And they range from just over 40,000 to just under 100,000. Difference being wood poles and elevated wires, and aluminum poles and buried wires. So that's in place, and that's gonna be on your February agenda.
Yeah, so we've tried to get some, you know, some momentum on that, and I think it started a few months ago.
Yep.
I think we're all sort of in agreement that there's a need and it's growing. We wanna make the park look good. It's our welcome gateway as far as air travel goes when people are disembarking, coming into the city. So, you know, especially this time of year when it's dark at 3:15 in the afternoon, 3:30.
Yeah, it's a good point about the air travel too. They're trying to bring in people from, say, north of Aroostook County or something, and they're going through those streets, and,
Yep.
you know, at midnight when their flight comes in, they don't know where the heck they're going.
So probably be part of our goal setting, I would assume, in the first quarter of this year, and we'll look forward to hearing some more about that. But returning to the year in review, congratulations. I think the Industrial Council has made note of competing organizations around the state, not competing, but sort of are, with Tom, Ruth, and 4 others, the staff. It's not a skeleton staff, but it's tiny. In comparison to some of these other organizations that have 25, 30, 35 on staff down around the Bangor area, and they're tasked with, you know, Dow Air Force Base, basically redeveloping that. These guys do a lot of great work for the town. They don't get a lot of spotlight, so we're spending some time to do it tonight. So I thank you for your patience in telling us that, telling our public that, getting it on the record, and we're looking forward to bigger and better things for this year, Tom.
I'll close out by saying that Mr. Freeman might be alluding to the fact that there's also a publication, Made Biz, comes out, and it rates all the parks in the state of Maine. And the rating was always done by acreage of those parks. And I have been requesting that they also look at the number of tenants on a park. Because if you go by acreage, there's some very large ones that have just started up that only have 2 tenants. They may have 2,000 acres, but they have 2 tenants. You go down into southern Maine, and maybe the Saco area or wherever it is, and they may have 160 tenants on 50 acres. I always have felt that the tenant count is a much better indicator of how successful a park is than the acreage count.
Oh, yeah.
And if we were to do that, we would be number 4 in the state.
Wow.
And they actually made note of it in this year's publication, that that's where we would be standing if that was done based on tenants.
Really?
Yeah. Any other questions? I'm happy
Yeah.
to answer
Yeah,
anything.
anybody else want to chime in before we
Oh, I-
leave this portion of the meeting?
I think that's fantastic. If you could share that with us in some manner, maybe you could scan it and email it out. I think that's something that we'd like to know. Maybe even put that in the paper. That's a pretty. It's
not a bad place to be.
That's a pretty
It's worth noting.
good dynamic, I would think, to advertise.
Yep.
And I look forward to working with you folks in the coming future.
Very good. If there's nothing else, I'll excuse myself.
So we're back to item 4 to accept the annual report from PIIC for 2023. So anybody like to move that?
I'll make that motion.
Craig moves it, seconded by Jeff. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 7-0. Thank you, and thank you, Tom, again. Great job.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Tom.
Thank you.
Seeing no other business, I'd like to move to adjourn the annual meeting of the Presque Industrial Council at time clock,
6:37.
6:37 PM. I need a second.
Second.
Seconded by Craig. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Presque Industrial Council. Thank you. So this brings us back to coming back out of recess and going back to our regular council agenda for this evening. And the next item is to discuss public hearings. So, Louis, wake you up a little bit down there. You've been
Sure.
quiet.
I have, I'm a little bit warm, but I'll tell you what I wanted to tell you. I'm gonna make a recommendation, these 7 next pieces sunset if you don't take action. And we're having a problem with 2 of them conflicting. So my recommendation is gonna be that you suspend or allow Chapter 38B, the Life Safety Code, to sunset for a temporary period. We're having problems with the Life Safety Code conflicting with the MUBEC. And we're having projects denied that meet MUBEC. And it's been a problem for the construction industry, it's been a problem here at City Hall, I think it's been a problem for you folks. And it's a temporary thing. So, Chapter 38 was first adopted in 1996, according to the records that I see. At that time, there was no MUBEC, and it made a lot of sense to have the Life Safety Code. But the Life Safety Code is a voluntary code that's adopted by the Fire Marshal's Office and made available to the municipalities. MUBEC came about in 2007, and it's a mandated code. We're required to have it and enforce it when our population is over 4,000. Secondly, the Fire Marshal's Office does also administer the Life Safety Code statewide. So we won't be without coverage. But it will give us a chance to get some language in place and some enforcement protocols in place that will make this work for the city. So my recommendation is that you let that one sunset until you get a new manager in place, a permanent manager who can address the issue and make something that works for the city.
So, in your opinion, would we be able to do any inspections or any building
Absolutely.
things?
The MUBEC code consists of a residential code, a commercial code, 2 energy codes, a ventilation code, a radon code, an existing building code, a property maintenance code, and there's one more, but that one got away from me.
That's pretty good.
Wow.
Pretty good off your top of your head.
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
awesome.
We have a list.
So that does not sunset or need to be put in place, it's automatic, or?
It's gonna sunset unless you take action for it not to sunset. So my recommendation is you re-vote in all the others except that one.
Oh, gee, okay. Chapter 25, MUBEC.
Chapter 25 is MUBEC.
Okay. Putting 2 and 2 together here.
Yeah, 38B is life safety. And again, I'm only suggesting it for a temporary stay, and we'll get some protocols in place and get it back in effect.
Is it worth, this might be a canon here, is it worth noting or giving an example of what has happened or what could happen?
One quick one that comes to mind is we have a draftsman who's been doing building plans for the city, for people who want to do development in the city, for years. And all of a sudden, his plans are getting denied because they don't meet life safety. They do meet MUBEC, but they don't meet life safety. And he has decided not to do any more work for people who want to do projects in Presque. And that's an issue.
And it's just like because of language stuff, or is it obvious like safety stuff?
We're talking stair tread dimensions, tread and riser dimensions that are within a 1/2 or 3/4 inch of each other.
Stupid stuff.
We've always been able to make it work. We just need to get some protocols in place going forward here. And I do get calls, I believe you folks get calls, and it's the big guys. It's the construction people who have been doing work here for years and years.
So the MUBEC is put out by Maine, updated by Maine.
Yeah.
and
So
pushed to the
MUBEC,
cities.
Maine Uniform Building and Energy Code is what that stands for.
Yeah.
The state legislature made it a law in 2007 all municipalities, all building is supposed to be done in accordance with MUBEC statewide. But only municipalities with population over 4,000 are mandated to enforce it. And we're there. Only one of our neighbors is in the same boat as we
Yeah.
are.
But,
Yep.
and we had enacted 38B life safety because there was no such thing as MUBEC.
Back then, it made sense.
So,
But
Before there was
we
MUBEC.
created that kind of ourselves, or not ourselves, but
So MUBEC was adopted, I believe, in '96, and the only building code back then was called BOCA. It was Building Officials and Code Administrators, I think. It wasn't a great code, and you had to adopt it separate. But when the legislature made the MUBEC law in 2007, they said no other building codes can be enforced by any municipality in the state. You have to use MUBEC. So it's the International Code Council series of code.
yeah.
The other set of codes are the NFPA codes. And the state could have used those, but they didn't. And there would have been no conflict. So the fire side, the state inspectors all use NFPA codes. The municipalities are mandated to use ICC codes.
So I guess why
Why
do
do
we
we need
even
it?
need to reconsider, why don't we sunset it forever?
The difference is if we have it adopted here, we can enforce it as long as we do it appropriately.
The life
If-
safety code?
Yeah, and if we don't adopt it here, then the state can come in and tell us our rules.
Yeah, but the state's rules trump the city rules anyways, don't they? If they're a stricter rule.
It depends on the case. In these ones, the state allows MUBEC to stand.
Allows MUBEC to
Mhm.
stand.
Can I
Yep.
say just one thing?
Yeah, I'm trying to see why we need it.
MUBIC is about the building, NFPA Life Safety 101 is about the safety of the people in the building. Two different things. So it works on egress, fire sprinklers, size of your staircases, are they enclosed, are they not enclosed? So when you talk Life Safety 101, you're talking about the building protecting the occupants from fire, other hazards, ability to get out of the building safely. So one is for the building, the other is for the people in the building.
But-
And so I struggle with even stopping it altogether, but I understand what he's saying, but I would be very against dropping it altogether.
So those things are not in place in MUBEC at all? They're not
Actu-
addressed at all?
Well, I think there is some standards,
There's
but
some
it's new
crossover,
construction.
But
Yeah.
when you look at it from a safety standpoint, the state fire marshal's office or even our fire departments, we base our inspections off Life Safety 101 because I'm not worried about the building. I'm worried about how do people, are they safe in the building? Is there sprinklers? Are they inspected? Are they tested? Are the egresses open? Are they accessible? Or can they get out easily? So you get these apartment buildings with 4 or 5 apartments in them, the sprinkler system's not down, that's a liability. Or you go there and they have the doors to the egress are locked with padlocks. Well, in the middle of the night in a smoke-filled room, who's gonna take a key and unlock it?
Okay, so that's called out there where obviously that padlock situation is not called out in MUBEC.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So and I don't want to argue with Daryl, he's right about what he's saying. At the same time, the state fire marshal is still available to enforce the NFPA code in the city. So we're not without, and again, temporary.
Can Tim?
Right,
He
and
Tim
don't-
does.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I understand what he's saying, I'm just saying temporarily until we can fix some things, I'm okay with that. But if we're talking, let's just take it out and never come back to it, I would strongly encourage you not to go that way.
But
I
agree.
think what we're trying to do is buy ourselves 30 to 45 days here so we can take this thing apart, put it
Yeah.
together and
Yeah.
get some advice.
I might,
So allowing it to sunset now basically means we're gonna come back to it at another date and rewrite it. It'll probably look somewhat like it is now, but probably more parallel to what MUBEC is.
it's just some enforcement protocols that we gotta get in place.
Okay.
Yep.
My last thing, so that if we let the sunset, can someone sit here and go buck wild for a couple months till we get something passed and Tim can't do anything?
You still got
No.
the state oversight and you still got MUBEC. So the only thing that is impacted is new construction.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
if we don't change it, we probably won't have any new construction. Cause nobody's gonna draw up the plans because they won't get them approved. Cause a lot of it doesn't make any sense, you know? It's like for one, you know, they're making these churches and stuff be sprinkled. Can you tell me why? That makes no sense whatsoever. There's nobody staying overnight there. There's no life safety code issues. As long as they have egress to get out of the building in case there was a fire.
So that's a situation you've seen in this conflict?
I mean, it just makes no sense to me,
So,
you know? And that's what they tried driving down everybody's throats. So you gotta have these sprinkler systems. It's like, yeah, it's bull.
I'm not sure that we're gonna fix that, but
So is it affecting already existing businesses or just future businesses from coming in?
new construction is the main piece.
New construction, but
Yeah.
it's not affecting already existing constructions?
If they're rehabbing, it
Okay.
can.
Okay.
And that's where some of the issues come in. Older buildings that don't have the sprinklers and don't have adequate
Mhm.
egress, those have to go to the state anyway for approval,
Mhm.
already.
I
So-
mean, we have a building down, down next to Steaks and Stuff. It's where Catholic Charities was. So we had the fire marshal come in, we had the code guy come in back a few years ago, we had plans drawn up. Catholic Charities was gonna go and rent the building and start selling their product. No problem. Get everything approved. Okay? So now, Catholic Charities moved out, somebody else wants to move in. Now we've gotta go draw up another whole set of plans, and because the use of the building has changed. I mean, that makes no sense to me whatsoever. If we got this approved, they come in and inspected everything, we met egress, we met the standards. Now, we gotta go redo it all again. That just, stuff like that
So-
just chaps your lips.
Occupancy and uses do matter, and anything that's a warehouse, they call it high hazard, because of the possibility of dust and explosions. And anything, as Tom was saying, that has humans in it or anything that's alive in it, they all, if there's gonna be a certain amount of occupancy, they have to be sprinkled. And we're not trying to get out of that. I'm not anyway.
Louis, just looking at the history of 38B, adopted in '96.
It's not right.
It was amended a couple of times in '04. You mentioned a couple of benchmarks with Newbeck Code in
Yep.
'07, '08, something like that.
Yep.
But largely, each city council has just repassed it every 4 years, with the exception of 2013. There was a slight amendment. We don't know what that is.
Yep.
I'd like to know what that was in 2013, but
I can,
we don't need that tonight.
yeah, I can find that for you.
But what I guess my point is that it's just largely been adopted, repassed without a lot of thought. I think you bring to the table right now some experience with codes and all that stuff,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think we would be not taking advantage of your experience if we.
Yeah,
Your recommendation is not to pass this, let it sunset, let's come back to the table with something that works better for the city of Presque Isle. You know, my vote would be to follow that recommendation.
Yeah, 'cause half the problem is with some of this stuff is, you take like the city, you know, we have to adopt that because we're over 4,000, okay? So, the problem is when a new business comes to town here and they say, well, we might wanna build a new building. Oh, well, we've got over 4,000 people, you have to meet this certain stringent code
Right.
requirement.
Well, we wanna make
And-
sure that we're on the level playing field with all of the communities.
Exactly, because
So
the
that'd be part
problem
of it.
is they're going to Easton and they're gonna say, hey, can we
Yeah.
build this over here? And Easton's
Yeah.
gonna say, yeah, absolutely, do
Yeah.
anything you wanna do, here's your permit.
so, again, I said it once, but when the legislature adopted that code, they did say all new construction is supposed to meet it. It's just the enforcement that's not required, and where the enforcement doesn't happen, it doesn't get followed. And the worst example in the state of violating this law is the Land Use Regulation Commission. They do not follow MUBEC. All of their territory, over half the state.
You know, we've recently witnessed a fairly large building development. Tom outlined it with FW Web. And they are multi-state, and I was not aware that they had any issues with the codes here in Presque Isle versus what they've seen in other areas. In fact, I think one of the things is that they kind of complimented Presque Isle on being very reactive to
Yep.
their questions and needs, and you know, closing the land sale and doing things in a judicious manner that they have seen a lot of foot dragging in other communities and other states. So I don't 38B was in effect for those guys. They're building a building, something It couldn't be all
So-
that bad, but I think what
Yep.
you're asking us to do is look at how the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed, and I think it's a good opportunity to do that.
So let me just explain that. 38B was in effect here, but they had to have approval through the fire marshal's office, and fire marshal's office is the one who made them follow those 38B standards,
Mhm.
so.
But they're still, they didn't stop the project.
No,
They
and
go
a
out of
company
town.
like that, it won't, at all.
Okay, beat that up pretty good, thank you. Any other suspensions, or we're gonna adopt these provisions? That would be, tab 5, guys.
So we would repass the litter and illegal dumping ordinance that tells you how to do it, the main uniform building code, personnel code, and the solid waste code.
And the public hearing notice.
And, yes,
That's the plan. Is that a motion?
All,
Move.
all but 38B.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I move that we repass those as presented.
I second.
All right, moved by Craig, seconded by, who was that? Tim. What was that name again?
I threw my voice, yeah.
Is there any other discussion? Thank you. All those in favor? All those opposed? All right. So everything's redone except for 38B. And I would expect that's gonna be on the agenda soon, if not sooner.
What I'd like to see is the next manager, the permanent manager, have his say in it. That's what I'd like to see. So.
Okay, super. All right, great, moving along now, it's not sunlight yet. Citizen comment section, this is the opportunity for people to address Presque Isle City Council
Last one.
on any topic. If they're a resident of Presque Isle, come on up to the podium, state your name, your address. Please keep your comments to under 5 minutes, and we'll open the citizen comment section up for tonight. Daryl, did you have your hand up? No. Ladies? Nothing? All right. We'll close the citizen comment section and move along to the next item of the agenda, which is public hearing section. Let's see, excuse me, that's why I have to wear these glasses. We're gonna move to the consent agenda, so item 6. I'll read the consent agenda and ask that we pass these as one item. So that would be to approve the minutes from December 6, 2023 and December 7th, 2023. Approve the 2023 warrants numbered 44, 45, and 46, totaling $728,936.04. Approve the reappointments of Rick Netto and Brian Sipe to the Presque Isle Utility District's Board of Trustees. Approve policy on treasurer's disbursement warrants for employees' wages and benefits. Approve municipal officers' policy on disbursement of municipal education costs. So that is the consent agenda. Would you like to take these separately or move past them as one item?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented, items 6 through 10.
Second?
Been moved by Jeff and seconded by Craig. I mentioned earlier about all of us being financial officers. It's item 9, if you want to take a quick look at that. Brad's left us for this evening, but basically this, if you look at the policy on treasurer's disbursements, and Lewis, I don't know if you want to comment on this, but
Just that it's really no change in how we go about our business. It's just an addition to who can do a business, do it, and any counselor now can do it, as opposed to the 2 being on the hook every week. So
that's exactly what I was saying earlier, that we elected 2 people to be on the finance committee, and now, if you look down under current municipal officers, it's the entire city council role that can come on in and sign disbursements.
So this is only a warrant for municipal employees' wages and benefits.
Isn't that what we do every week, payroll?
Yeah, but we also do the other warrants.
Yep.
So this wouldn't really
So it'd just be for payroll, it wouldn't be for the other
Right.
warrants.
Right, yeah.
So the reason behind those things being on there is because we have to get those checks out, the education and the payrolls. We have to get those checks out, and sometimes that's been an issue, failing to get signatures in time to get those out as they need to go. That's what's behind that one.
There's been instances like I think
Yeah, I got it.
where Craig's been out of town or you are both.
Yep, I've been out.
And so it goes.
I don't have anything against this, guys. I just want to point out that it's a change from, it's probably a healthier change.
I don't have any problem with it, but it's not gonna solve the problem on sending a check to John's Auto Repair if we've got a check that needs to go out for a car that got fixed or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not gonna change any of those things. It's just gonna change that people get paid on time.
That's right. So we do those other checks weekly, and not all of them require your signature, some of the manager signs, but they're not as critical. It's not people depending on their paycheck, it's businesses who have given us services who might have to wait another 5 days.
Yeah, I'll fall on the sword. I mean, I was late one time and Craig was out of town and
Yeah.
they called me up and said, would you please get down here and sign it so people can take the checks home? This eliminates that. So,
Well, that is, if the rest of you guys show up.
yeah. I'm just pointing that out. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
I'm fine.
It's fine. It's just not gonna solve every check.
Not the payables ones, no.
And trust me, if it's a big check that someone wants, you're gonna get a phone call. Have you gone down to sign it yet?
Right.
That'll come from the payee.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there any other comments, debate? No,
Mm-mm.
seeing none. All those in favor of passing the consent agenda, 6 through 10. All those opposed? All right, 7-0. Is there any other old business before we go to new business tonight? Louis, you got anything else under old business?
Not that needs to go there. I got some stuff in the manager's report, but
All right, thank you. New business, item 11. This is to schedule a future public hearing to amend Chapter 13 litter and an illegal dumping ordinance. You want to talk about that a little bit?
so it's just some new language in that ordinance. Daryl is here, but I believe the state has passed a new law that all open burning now requires a permit. Am I correct, Daryl? And that's what this is you give the fire department the ability to issue those permits as opposed to making the people who need them go to the Forest Service or somewhere else. So,
We talking about campfires and everything too, or?
is it over 3 feet in diameter?
Yeah, in the city of Presque, we require a permit for all burning, whether you're doing, just a fireplace in your back. The reason we started that was because we, as a fire department, during the summer, were chasing so many calls from people saying, I see smoke 2 streets over. And we had no way of knowing what was going on, so we're responding with emergency vehicles to find out somebody's having a campfire. So we require a permit, you come in and get it, and it's good for the entire year. All you do is call us up, say, hey, I'm gonna have my campfire. Then when we get those phantom calls, we can say, no, we got burned from this, so we're not chasing them anymore. So it makes life easier for the emergency services by not sending apparatus all over the city for nothing. And so we require, and the council approved this 6 or 7 years ago, maybe even longer, that all burning in Presque requires a permit. And it's been very successful. We don't get any complaints, but it's never truly been written in the ordinance. And we just feel that now that we're updating the ordinance, it should be written in.
So this is again to schedule a public hearing at February 7th at our next council meeting. So I guess I'll say that we move to schedule a public hearing to consider the change Chapter 13 litter and illegal dumping ordinance at the February 7th, 2024 council meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jeff. Is there any other comments? I'll save them for the next meeting. Great. All those in favor? Opposed? 7-0. Great, thank you. Item 12, another new business item, again, another public hearing to amend Chapter 38B. We went over this a little bit. So now I understand how it works.
Yeah, and we have to table this until that same time that we have 38B ready again.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I move we table that item,
Second.
12.
And move to table item 38B to a future date. And seconded by Hank. All those in favor? Opposed? Great. Thank you. Page 3. Feel like Paul Harvey.
Yeah.
Another public hearing to schedule for February 7th, a hearing to amend Chapter 42 solid waste ordinance. What's this one all about? Bruce?
No, number
You
13.
have an old,
Oh, am I looking at something else?
You're up in public hearings. We're down on number 13.
Yes, on reading 13. Okay. What happened to 42?
did that one get printed off? Because they sent one out earlier.
Yeah, this is the early one.
Okay, yeah,
Is that out now?
that's, yeah, that's not on the schedule.
Okay,
now.
so now we're just going to tax acquired properties.
Yeah, and then there's a 14 there,
Okay.
which should probably be on this one.
All right. This is to schedule a public hearing for February 7th, I assume.
No, this is not a public hearing. This is to take action on tax acquired property. So you're on item 13 on the third page.
Yeah. Okay,
The one you're on.
are you here? Okay.
It's under new
You wanna,
business.
you wanna talk about tax acquired properties?
I do. So when this memo was originally created a couple of weeks ago, we had items 1 and 2 we wanted to list with
Yeah,
a
I see it.
realtor, and 3 through 5 we wanted to set up payment arrangements. Since then, we've acquired 20 Dyer and 19 Dyer. So we now only want to set up the payment arrangements with item 5. We have become the owner of all 4 of the others. So the question is, can we list them for sale?
We have become the owner of 20 Dyer.
Afraid so.
Mm-hmm.
We have 4 tenants.
So, number 1, I recommend we do not sell because that is the missing piece of the land we purchased. And that the city retains that for its future development of the waterfront. That is, where the previous water department, land was. That's what we purchased down there. There's a little sliver out of it, that's the sliver.
It's not big, and I would certainly agree with that recommendation. I think we own abutting land.
Yeah, we own all of the land that abuts it.
Which one is that, Ray?
It's a little piece of property
On
that's,
Central,
no, it's on the Presque stream, next door to the water department district land that we bought last
And where
year.
the old Rod and Gun Club was.
Right,
In that same road, yep.
so this is the piece of land that is the missing piece of the, I think there's what, 60 acres that we bought along the river over the course of the last 3 years, which eventually could be used for recreational trails or whatever it may be, or redevelopment or homes or who knows what. But that one little sliver will impede the access
Okay,
of all of that, so.
I guess I'm not following what's.
So that number, so number one, number one,
25 Rod and Gun Club,
we should keep.
but why does it say list with a realtor? As
Uh,
it suggests.
So that was the recommendation coming from the finance department. Craig has information beyond
Yeah.
what the
Okay.
finance department has, and I think he's making a really good recommendation there.
So what, okay, with his recommendation, what do we do?
We would do 2, 3, and 4. List those with the market. And now I'll tell you a little bit more. 20
Well,
Dyer and 19 Dyer are already listed.
No, do we need to do some type of action with one?
Just with 1, no.
Just.
We
No.
already own
Not
it,
right
just
now.
don't sell it.
So when a final plan gets put together, you may turn it over to water and sewer, you may deed it to yourself or whatever.
How do we own it when it says Central Rusick CB Club is taxpayer?
They were the last owners, and they lost it due to non-payment of taxes. All of these have been lost due to non-payment of taxes.
Okay, so we officially.
Own it.
We own them
Own
all.
all of these.
We own them all, and we're considering
Okay.
selling them
What to do with them.
and listing through a real estate agent
We've
to
already
make that
gone
happen.
through the ownership part.
Yep.
Yep.
Landlords on Dyer, which is good.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Do we even own number 5?
Nope, we do, but Brad has a payment plan in place with the owners,
Okay.
and I believe they're being faithful to their, agreement, so. And we do always try to get the properties back in the owner's name
Absolutely.
if we can, so.
So,
Okay, so you were saying something before I interrupt you. You were gonna give more info on, was it 2 or something?
Dyers.
Yeah, so Dyer Street, it's, number 3 and number 4. We wish we hadn't acquired that property, but we did, and we wanna unload that just as quick as we can.
Number 4 is the parking lot that's pretty much adjacent to
Yep.
Machias.
Machias,
So
that's
that
correct.
really should belong to somebody.
It's in the same ownership. When I talked with the Realtor, I kinda suggested that Machias would probably grab that up quick, and he said, you might be right. But I don't wanna jeopardize the sale of 20 Dyer by selling 19 off and not having it available. So I agreed with that reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, can you elaborate on 20 and what it cost us? Cause assessed value 250 grand.
We have about 19,000 in outstanding taxes, a little over 19. We have 4 tenants in it. 3 of them belong there, 1 of them doesn't. I'm actually gonna work with the police department tomorrow to get a trespasser removed. It's 2 stories. 3 of them are paying rent. We've collected 1 check already for January, and we expect a second one tomorrow. The 3rd tenant has paid their rent to the previous owner through February. So he's got that money. He also has 3 security deposits and possibly 4 that he's taken with him. So we are putting fuel in it, and this morning I had the Versant change the power over to our name. The basement and the 1st floor are on us. The 4 apartments are on the tenants.
Yeah, but why are we, I mean, I understand we're basically operating an apartment building now, but is that $250,000 value in the ballpark? I guess why would we have such a great concern if we got 19 grand in it?
Because of the liabilities of having those tenants, we're not landlords, and we don't want to be landlords.
Right,
Absolutely not.
but,
So,
I mean,
the
are we
real-
allowed to profit on that?
oh yeah, well,
I don't think so.
we gotta follow the law.
We could've paid
My
at least-
question, and I have to research this, I haven't done it yet, my question is, do we have to refund all the money on a commercial property? We definitely do on a residential property, where we take somebody's home. On a commercial property, I'm not sure that's the case, so we've gotta research that, and I'll find the answer for you.
In terms, if you sell it for 200, you refund all
Yep.
of that minus 19?
So if that law applies, it does require the Realtor to get as much out of it as he can at market value, in a reasonable amount of time.
When did we seize this place?
It happened basically by default.
Yeah, they're automatic foreclosures. Once we put a lien on and that lien expires or matures, the foreclosure's automatic.
When did
And we
that
have to
happen?
be on our toes to make sure
November.
we don't take properties like this, or like mobile homes in parks. We don't want those. We have to pay lot rent.
And the landlord's collected rent?
He has,
And he's gonna ride off into the sunset with deposits and rent
Yep.
that he's collected since we seized it, and we just paid $19,000 in fuel and whatnot?
He's already gone.
It's a wonderful world.
Yeah, I know, but,
And he's
that's
gonna-
it.
And he may get a big paycheck when you sell it.
Don't you start with it. You're getting me going now. You're getting me going, dog go hunt.
so
That's-
Attorney Courier is gone, but he will be answering those questions. Yeah.
Yeah, those are questions for him.
So we're gonna sell 2, 3, and 4. We're going to try to return 5 to the owner with the agreement we've made with them.
Yep.
And we're gonna retain number 1 as part of the land we've already purchased in the area.
I think you just made a motion.
I second.
Okay, that's my motion.
Thank you very much. Is there any other questions or comments? There's no other real way to do this, guys.
Well, I guess my only question would be is if we kept it and we evicted everybody, and could we develop it and actually sell it and make a profit on it? Is this that much of a headache that we're better off washing our hands?
So Tom Powers did some speaking a while ago, and he would be the ideal person to follow your plan right there if you chose to do it.
Well, I just think $250,000 is probably, That's a huge building. Huge.
So any sale would be authorized by city council, so what we're asking to do now is to place these items for sale, get them listed with a real estate agent and begin the process. So you're not relinquishing any authority or decision.
Okay.
If you decide you wanna go down that road later on, we could get plenty of advice and we could nail that.
All right.
There are those are good learning opportunities, and it's good reminders for me because I've seen it come and go over the last few years. Nothing is without pain, cost, and penalty. Right? So let's just keep that in
Nothing
mind.
good.
Would you agree with that, Mr. Executive Director?
I haven't looked at that only on the exterior buildings in very poor condition, and I'm afraid it could be a giant money pit.
There you go.
Be good.
There you go.
So this is the old Goulden Smith building, if
Yeah.
you're not sure. Yeah.
Any other comments?
So we're listing those properties separate,
Yes.
Yeah.
With
We-
an agent?
but we advise whether to keep 3 and 4 together, or
No.
could someone just?
We're letting
They're
we're letting
involved.
the realtor guide us there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let them earn.
Okey-doke.
Let them earn and consult and give us some guidance, and that's their level of expertise, and that's what we get paid, they get paid for, so.
Right.
Any other comments? Nope. Got a motion on the floor, seeing no other action, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed? 7-0, all right. That will conclude, I believe, our,
One more.
holy cow. I like my agenda better than the new one.
Where did you get it?
I got it on the email like a week and a half ago.
We amended it.
We're gonna have a talk.
That's Patty, not me.
All right, the Zoll cardiac monitor replacement. Oh, this, I might need one of these if we keep doing this stuff. Holy cow.
Is this the same Zoll that was the demon in the Ghostbusters movie? No? Okay.
That was Zool.
Zool,
That
oh,
was-
sorry,
yeah.
oh, sorry. Wow. See, it was close. Yeah, okay, it was close.
So just a real brief history, when we started the ambulance service in 2017, we went inexpensive. So we had bought our monitors in 2017, they were used refurbished ones, they weren't brand new. So we're going on, 7 years now? We bought a fourth brand new one in 2020 because we put a fourth ambulance into service because our call volume required us to have 4. Zoll gave us a 2-year interest-free loan. We paid half the first year, we paid half the second year, so it helped us budget-wise to get them interest-free. And I will say they threw a lot of goodies in on top of that, so they were very good to us. We reached out to them again to start talking about, we're starting to replace the 2017 refurbs. They're outdated. Service is gonna be going away very quickly on them, and so they gave us a package. Originally, the first package came in at $150,000 over a 5-year loan. We said that's more than we can afford, so we've been working with them for a couple of months. We're down now for 3 brand new monitors. Our 2020 monitor to be upgraded to match, so all 4 are the same. And the new the new monitors are spectacular. The things they do for us in the field are, they monitor how well we're doing breathing for a patient. We can send cardiac monitor strips to the hospital, eventually get set up, we can send them the strips. So there's a lot of new, nice techno features on them that we're really interested in. Long story short, they gave us a 5-year deal, $25,000 a year. They'll replace the 3 old monitors, and they'll upgrade our 4th one to the exact same. So what we're asking is if you would consider allowing us to sign this contract or have Lewis sign this contract, and it does put us on the hook for $25,000 over the next 3 years, but we did beat them out of $25,000, and I don't think we're gonna get any better out of them, and they're still throwing in quite a lot of goodies, the bags and a lot of other stuff, so we think it's a good deal versus us trying to buy one every year. By the time we get to the 4th one, we're already starting to go back and because we gotta replace again, so we just think this is a good way to go, and we just ask for your approval.
Can, setting aside the need from it, how come we didn't get this like a month or 2 ago?
I'm sorry.
It just came to them dated, this is, this is an 11th hour add-on, okay? 24 hours before this package was put to us, They,
Yeah, but you
they,
must have known you needed these a month ago.
it was
We-
issued on
we've been-
December 15th.
Yeah, we've been working on this for a while, but we never got the final agreement to where we thought, okay, this makes sense until the wee hour. And as soon as I got it, I tried to put it on the council packet for December, but I was too late, so it didn't get put on, so I tried to put it on for January.
Well, the contract's written December 15th.
Well, yeah, so, and when I got it, and I tried to get it on, but it was too late, the agenda had already been sent out.
Yeah, but you've obviously been working on this for a couple months, probably back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There was no placeholder in the budget or anything?
no.
What the hell?
Daryl, just briefly, the equipment you're replacing, did we have an annual lease with that?
No, that,
We owned them,
the monitors we own outright.
and they're giving you 17 grand credit for those.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Price of technology, guys. This is part of the EMS program.
How long are they good for?
The monitors are good for 7, 8, 9 years. So right now, these would be the most technical, advanced ones on the market. So it'll be 3 or 4 years, I'm assuming, before they start coming up. I mean, there's only so much they can do with them, and they're pretty much there, I think.
How long do you think that they're gonna be state-of-the-art, usable, and good for us? 3, 4 years, you're thinking?
No, I think we'll get to 5 years out of them before they come and they say, hey, we gotta start looking
And
again.
in 5 years, will they give us any money back on these units to?
We will
re-up?
get a better, we got some on these old units, we'll get even better on the newer technology, because remember when I say the ones we originally bought weren't not brand new, they were
Exactly.
refurbished to start with,
Yeah.
so
really, when it comes time to get new ones, I mean, we can actually reduce this number or the next
those
number.
numbers should be better as far as, yeah, the buybacks on the
We're gonna
old
need
ones.
them.
Yeah.
Give yourselves the best opportunity to help your patients, guys. This is it.
And Doug, I would just like to state one thing so that it's clear. Actually, the deputy chief has been working on this for quite some time, and him and I didn't communicate on it. So when he finally came to me and said, hey, look what I got, we had already gone through the budget. And,
Who's his boss?
huh?
Who's his boss?
I am, but
Okay.
but that doesn't mean I'm gonna ask him every day, what are you doing today? I trust them to do their jobs.
We could go to the nursing home without anything, but I think we'd have a better chance of having people survive. I think we ought to give them the best opportunity.
So you're saying that these things can basically, you can monitor things in the field and actually have that sent to the ER upon the person arriving?
These
and
new
whatnot?
systems, you can have it actually come out on your phone, you can have it on an iPad, or you can have it on a computer. So if the hospital wants to set up, we could actually send them the strips. One of the most amazing things it does that isn't fancy to anybody else but us that work in the field is now when we are actually breathing for patients with what they call the bag valve mask. And so if you have a patient with a low respiratory rate and you have to vent them, try to time your squeezing the bag with their respiration. This machine will tell you when to squeeze, when to stop. So it actually is gonna be just like 911 telling you when to do something. And it'll tell you if you're doing it correctly, if you're getting enough oxygen. It's just an amazing tool. It does a lot of things.
Pretty high-tech, life-saving equipment.
So how much more training would your crew need to handle?
Part of the training would be in this price. So they will come and they will give us the training that we need. So, yeah.
When I read it, it looked like everything is included in that, like everything you would need as far as cleaning or new instruments to use for new people, all of that stuff.
This comes ready to roll. Yep.
Yep.
We might need a few extra ones if they keep pushing these vaccines.
Yeah.
Jeez. Well,
If you know what I mean. The boosters and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Is it something you didn't answer on tonight?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
That's why it's here.
if we could get one tonight, that would be great, because I would like to get this signed and into them before they decide to say, well, you know what, 24, we gotta increase these prices. So they were actually pretty adamant that we had this signed before the end of the year, and we just kept telling them, we can't do that. We can't sign this and send it to you. We need to have approval first, so.
So it does say on the statement that it expires on December 31st. Are they still going to honor that?
When we talked to them, they said they would, but I'll be honest, and we could sign this tomorrow and send it down there, and they could say, no, the deal's off the table, and it all goes for naught. But they've been really good to us. They understand where we're coming from, so I think they would honor it.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I move that we authorize the interim city manager, Lewis Cousins to sign the Zoll Medical 5-year agreement for Zoll cardiac monitor replacement.
Second.
Moved by Craig and seconded by Jeff. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? It's 7-0. All right, thank you.
So before Daryl goes away, that next piece of paper came in late today, and we were gonna do it in the manager's report, but he's still here, and he's the right guy to explain it.
So under EMA and our council chair, you already have this 402 certificate in my office, so you're good. But under
Yeah.
a lot of our federal programs, the city has to be NIMS compliant, National Incident Management System compliant, which unfortunately means I have to have a whole lot of certifications. The police chief has to have a lot of certifications, city manager has to have some, and the city council has to have some. So we usually try to get at least 2 on the council to do the 402. So the paper, have they?
Yeah. It were
So
short
that
ones.
paper,
Just passed me.
uh,
Okay.
yeah, so Aroostook County EMA, because it's the beginning of a new year and we have new
Here you go.
counselors, they are offering to do a couple of classes by Zoom. So you can
I
either
got-
sit
I'm
at your
in.
home and
I've
do
already
it, or
passed
at your
it.
office, or I would be more than willing to open up the public safety building training room, and we could put the Zoom up on the big screen, and y'all could sit there, and we'd give you some coffee, and it's about a 2-hour program. And then when we check that box that says we're NIMS compliant, I'm confident we're NIMS compliant, because I know I can name 2 or 3 counselors that have this program. So I would just ask that a couple of you, on top of the chair, maybe take an opportunity to get into one of these classes, and it tells you at the bottom how to sign up for them. And if you want to do it as a group, or 2 or 3 you want to do it as a group at the station, just let us know and we'll bring it up. But if not, you can sit at home and do it.
You said
So,
free coffee,
you're
right?
saying, so this is with the fire, the police,
Decaf.
the council, the manager. So the police are involved in this, so is that a chance we get donuts with this? I'll come if we have
I like
donuts.
the way you
And can we have Lori run it? She's better looking than you do. I mean, I
I'm sure she would. I'm sure she would. And my feelings aren't hurt. I can cry. And
I'm sure I can probably make, actually, that'd be great. I think that's great, and keep us up to speed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay,
So-
we'll feed back some interest from the group. Besides myself, I'm already certified, so.
Yep.
Donuts.
Yep. So
Yeah, we'll send an email out, and then maybe if there's enough, 3 or 4,
No,
we'll do a
yeah.
group thing,
No, it's
perhaps.
yeah, if you want to come down to the station, we can do it in the training room where you all sit together and do it at once. And
I'd prefer to do it down here, honestly.
we will provide coffee and donuts.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
Perfect. That's
See?
all we require.
You were, unless I'm mistaken, by any other 24-hour changes.
Our thing is at the end.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to the manager's report now.
So I got just a couple of things. First of all, I think it's very good news that the City Hall oil furnace has not been fired yet this year, except to test it. We're living on these heat pumps, and we're into January. So last year, we weren't complete, and we had to run the oil. This year, so far, none. So,
Awesome.
yeah. We will follow up on the electric bills and see how they're ranging. They're bound to be up, but I doubt they're up over the oil, what the oil would have been, so. I was gonna report on the MMG land sale. Attorney Currier was here early before the meeting and got all of our signatures, and he's gonna close with MMG on January 11th. I already reported about Central Drive lighting, and that'll be on your February agenda. And the last thing was on January 2nd, there was a really nice reception at the Public Safety Building. Chief Kelly had all kinds of people come visit, employees, past employees, police chiefs from all around Aroostook, EMS people, Forest Service people, game wardens. There was a long list of people who came to appreciate Chief Kelly on her way out. So it was really nice. And I have to give Pam Sutherland the nod for pulling it together, and she did have help from Deputy Chief Hayes. So need to know those things.
Very nice. Cool.
Very, very good.
Oh, thank you, Louis. Presque Isle City Council announcements for this evening. We'll announce the following employment vacancies are available. We have a opening as a police officer, we have an opening for airport line service technician. The following vacancies are still on boards and committees. Assessment review, we are looking for 2 one-year alternates. The audit committee, again, 1 4-year member. Downtown revitalization, 1 4-year member. Library board of trustees we filled this evening, and one-year alternate is still open. Recs and parks filled this evening, and 3 one-year alternates are still available if you want to help out with recs and parks. Zoning board, 1 3-year member is open, and one-year alternate is open. So please come down and see Kim at the city clerk's office on the 1st floor, or apply online. And finally, this evening's announcement will conclude with the next Presque City Council meeting will be on Wednesday, February 7th, 2024, at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. We'd encourage you to come on out and take part in your city government. So,
Mr. Chairman, at this point, I would move we go to executive session according to 1 MRSA 4056D to discuss negotiations.
been moved. Seconded by Jeff. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight, and Happy New Year. Awesome. And that is 7:20.
Cool.
7:28.
How you doing?
Well, anybody can sign this now. As that's, you've seen this before. You can do the payroll.